Rabotai, Eid Shabbat Shalom, just some basic halachot about the Haftara. Every week we read the Haftara after Kriyat Torah. The Gemara says in Masechet Megillah that originally they didn't used to have Haftara. Originally they used to read the Parashat HaShavua and that's it. There came a time where the Romans made a Gezerah on Am Yisrael that they're not allowed to read the Parashat HaShavua. And in order to compensate for Parashat HaShavua, what the Chachamim instituted was that they read a portion of the Navi that has something to do, a hint from Parashat HaShavua that they would find in the Navi, and they would read that instead. Now what would they do? There have to be 7 aliyot on Shabbat, a minimum of 3 psukim per aliyah, which is 21 psukim. They were mitaken to read 21 psukim from the Navi instead of Parashat HaShavua, unless the inyan is nishlam in less than that. Many haftarot are shorter than 21 psukim because the matter is complete before 21 psukim are up. Now, sometimes you look in certain haftarot, the comparison to Parashat HaShavua is very glaring, it's very open. Sometimes, by the way, like this week's parasha, especially according to the Sfaradim, interestingly, this week's parasha, the haftarah of this week, is the first time in the Torah that we find the difference between the haftarah according to the minhag of the Sfaradim and minhag of Ashkenazim. There are different minhagim, and you're both yotzei the chovah. Now, in this week's parasha, in this week's haftarah, according to the Sfaradim, in Hosea, ve'amit Elohim l'meshuvati. Over there's a pasuk. Where's the hint to Parashat HaShavua? It says, Bet El yimtza'enu v'sham yedaber imanu. It says, Hashem found us in Bet El. When did HaKadosh Baruch Hu find us in Bet El? When is that? With Yaakov Avinu. That's the only hint in the entire Haftarah to Parashat HaShavua. Ashkenazim read a different portion of Hosea this week. Vayivrach Yaakov Sedei Aram. Over there it's much more, Yaakov Avinu ran away to Lavan. Okay, that's very open. Misfaradim this week, it's a little bit tricky to find it, but it's there. Now, by the way, you should try to do that every week. Find in the Haftarah what's the connection between the Haftarah and Parashat HaShavua, because that's the whole point. Now, it's important, Lechat Techila, Mitzvah Min HaMuvchar, is that the person who gets Aliyat Maftir, you have to read a portion of the Torah, reads the Haftarah for the Tzibur himself. Preferably, reading the words properly with Ta'amim. 2 things, like Kriyat Torah. You have to read the words, and you have to read it with ta'amim also. That's best case scenario. B'di'avad, now this is not the best thing to do. Sometimes you find places where either somebody will go up for maftir, and then he'll read the haftarah, but quietly, shliach tzibur will read the haftarah for the tzibur out loud. That's b'di'avad, not so good. Also, another thing, I'll come back to that in a second. Another thing that people do is that one person gets the aliyah to the Torah for maftir. He reads from the Torah, and then he puts somebody else up to read the haftarah. That's very no good. Now, by Ashkenazim, many places, many Bate Knesset among Ashkenazim, they read the haftarah from klaf. They read it from Sifrei Nevi'im Mamash, that were written b'chtav yad. That's mitzvah min hamuvchar. You can have a shliach tzibur read it for the entire tzibur. That's okay. However, by Sfaradim, it's a little bit not so much the minhag to have the Navi written b'chtav yad, and therefore the tzibur needs to read along. Therefore, when you're having a shliach tzibur read it for the tzibur, the actual oleh maftir has to read the haftarah for the tzibur. Now, here's the issue. A lot of people know the words of the Ari HaKadosh. The Ari HaKadosh writes that there's a kesher between the word maftir haftarah and niftar, which means it's very beneficial if a person has a yartzeit to get aliyat maftir to read the haftarah. It's lito'elet and niftar. It's good for the deceased. It's good for the neshama of the deceased. What they don't know is the words of the Chesed La'alafim. Hagon Rabbi Eliezer Papo, the author of Pili Yoetz, he has a Sefer Halacha, commentary on Orach Chaim, called Chesed La'alafim. Over there he writes that a person, Siman Resh Pedalet, in Ilchot Haftarah, says if a person doesn't know how to read the Haftarah properly, don't go up. It causes pain to the niftar. It causes pain to the neshama of the deceased. He says, you don't know how to read the Haftarah properly, that's okay. Either go learn or stand back. Buy aliyah or go up for aliyat mashlim. Mashlim is better. You don't have to read. Shliach tzibur will read. Stay back. You don't know how to read? It's okay. But everybody, in English there's a saying, stay in your lane. Hishaer b'maslul shilcha. If you don't know how to read, so don't go up. The problem is when people think they know how to read, partial job, and then they go up and they botch it. That's not good for the neshama. That's not good for the tzibur. That's not good for the oleh. What are you embarrassing yourself in front of the tzibur? Ma ta'aseh. Therefore, person has to know, everybody know, da'at mikomcha. Everybody has to know what they're good at and what they could get better at, and to understand what the halacha is. And therefore, la halacha wal ma'aseh, a person should only purchase or get aliyat maftir if he is, again, even if he doesn't know all the ta'amim perfectly. Okay, that's not the end of the world. But at least to read the words kamo ben adam. Sometimes, and the Navi, by the way, sometimes in the Navi you have harder words than in the Torah itself. What are you going up thinking that, take a step back and realize, maybe this is not for me. It's okay. It's okay. Stick to aliyat maftir, to aliyat mashlim, stick to another aliyah, but you don't have to go up and botch it for yourself and for the tzibur and for the neshama. Have a wonderful day and Shabbat Shalom.